Hello everyone, this is Michael from Van Asshole at you today live from my van. It's supposed to be the top of Pocaterra Ridge, but unfortunately some of the videos got corrupted when I downloaded them as zip files, and a lot of the good information for this video I couldn't figure out how to fix or retrieve or find. So regretfully, my introduction from up top of there is gone forever. Sadly, I tried everything I could to get it back. But anyway, to make up for it, I am going to show some pictures and then just kind of talk you through some of it, because that's unfortunately the best that I can do. And well, I'll show a little funny clip that, at least funny to me, maybe not you, but a little funny clip that I took while I was on top of there. The video that I took on top of Pocaterra Ridge, which is in Kananaskis country, it was my favorite one because I had a marmot in there. He wanted to be in all the videos that I took, and it was awesome. So to lose it really sucks. Anyway, to get things started, today is all about my garage. The garage is about probably 4 or 5 videos to do it all. There's flooring, there's the electrical, because I got my whole power system plant is in the ass end there. I've also got my water tank and my onboard air system. So to do all of that, and I found a neat way to bring the floor right to the outer edge of the garage, and it's angled right where the door is closed there on the floor, and it's kind of hard to finish that. So with that and the rear table and everything, it was a challenge, but I came up with the best that I could do. And anyway, those are a couple of videos in themselves. Otherwise, this will be a 2-hour video. So I'll just briefly touch on each of those extra videos just so you get an idea of what's in there. And then unfortunately, I'll just have to wait until I can get to making those ones and putting them in. So showing as much video as I can, and pictures where I have to, and please just bear with me. So what I do like about this design is that it came together quite fast. None of how I fasten my walls to the walls of the van, if you will, are traditional. I've come up with my own unique way of doing it. So just stick around and see what I've done. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Here's that video from me on top of Pocaterra Ridge with my new buddy. Selfie with me and the marmot. He sure likes being in the camera. He's caught plotting on how to eat me. He doesn't realize how big I am. Probably how bad I would taste. But yeah, just hanging out here, enjoying the scenery. Pocaterra Ridge, Kananaskis, me and the marmot. We'll talk to you later. All right, unfortunately, in the early stages of my van build, I didn't take a lot of pictures because I figured the videos were going to cover everything just nicely. Oh, how that's come back to haunt me. At any rate, this is the best picture I could find of the early stages of the garage build. As you can see, the bed's already in place. That's an exciting time, let me tell you, especially if you're living in it when you build it. But I'm getting off track here. The bed and the bedroom area, which is above the bed, that's in the next video. Probably change it before I get to it. But at any rate, I'm going to ignore that. Right now, I just want you to look at the black walls underneath the bed and all that space in between those 2 little black walls on the left and the right, and behind that big white water tank, which is sitting roughly where it's going to go. That's the area we're going to focus on today, with whatever video I could salvage out of everything that I had. It's going to be a bit incomplete, unfortunately, but that's where we're going. So let's get started with the first wall that I started putting up. I believe it is on the driver's side and the rear end there. I'll show you how I stuck the wall up, and I put in the supports so that I could put the bed in place. All right, the first piece we're going to put together in this van is the rear of the garage on the driver's side. We got 3 pieces here held together with 1 bolt. Well, right now they are. We got a 2x2 that's gonna hold part of my bed up, and I'm just gonna use one, I believe it's an M6, it's a metric bolt, and this will be tightened down. It'll hold this piece in, and it'll hold the bottom of that piece in. You'll see in a bit there how the rest of that piece is held into place. I forgot to mention that this bolt is in a factory bolt hole that comes with the van. There's many of them. They're all metric, at least here in Canada. And it's a lot easier using those than trying to drill through this. This is very thick metal, this corner here. So you've been warned if you want to drill through it. This was the next best picture I could find, which shows both walls already up as well, and the beginnings of the electrical power plant on the left there. Beams are up for the bed, and the dividing wall that separates the garage from my dining room area, as I call it there. What I wanted to do is just let you be able to see the walls there. I used the plywood that was on the floor of the van when I bought it. It was nice looking wood. I hated to throw it all out. I thought it made a nice finish for the garage. What I failed to take into consideration is how damn heavy it is. So it really started adding a lot of weight that was on the back axle, amongst a few other bad decisions that I made in hindsight anyway. So that I don't have a lot showing how I put all of it together. I'm going to show everything that I do have, but that's what it looks like with each of the walls up there, and I'll just show you what little I can of how I put those into place. I put this piece and this piece up just like I did on the driver's side, with a post in the corner. I got 1 bolt going into this corner piece of the van using a factory threaded hole that holds all that up. I ran my piece the whole length of the garage here, and same setup. I got 2 bolts holding it in place. All right, let me translate that vagueness into English for you. It sounds great in my head when I'm taking the video, but in looking back on it, I didn't explain it very well. In order to create the whole layout of this van, I needed to know how big my garage was going to be first, because that dictates where the dining room sits, which dictates how much or how little room I have left for the galley. The size of the garage was dictated on how big my mountain bike is without the front tire on it. So once I figured out how much room I needed in there to be able to store the mountain bike, leaving a little bit of room above the handlebars, of course, that could help me decide on where I need to start putting my bed as well. So this piece of plywood that's bolted onto the side of the van with two bolts into factory holes that were already in there, that's as long as my mountain bike is to fit in there, and the height is based on that as well. So that's how I put all that together. Then where there's a couple of notches along the top there, I've got 2x2s running down to the floor. That's where those bear the weight of my bed frames, or the beams that go across from my bed, which you'll see in the next video. So that's what you're seeing there, and they're only held in place by a couple of silver screws that you can see on the surface of the black plywood. So that's how I did all of that. And once again, the black piece facing the back corner of the garage there is held into place with the one bolt that I've already explained that goes into the corner post, if you will, of the van. So let me carry on with the next part here. Because I had ample room right down in there, and even underneath where it's foiled, I put a little drawer to store whatever. Of course, I was excited at having an over 20-inch long drawer, but I forgot that a bed post has to go right down, so I had to cut the drawer into 2 pieces there. Oh well. I added an outdoor shower that also doubles as a water fill into my water tank. I'll talk about that in the plumbing section, but I can shower here, or I can fill my water tank up. To finish off this side of the wall here, the drawer itself is very underwhelming. I can maybe fit 3 or 4 cans of pop in there if I'm lucky. It's not very robust. It's just made with 1/8 inch plywood glued together. So I can put a few sockets in there, or air fittings or something. I should have shown you what it looks like inside and opened it up, but I didn't. Maybe down the road in one of the videos you'll see in there, but trust me, once you do see it, it's not going to be very exciting. Anyway, moving on. Couple cargo latches on the outside of the wall, both sides of the wall actually, and excuse me. After 3 years of living in it, I've never needed them once, never considered using them once, and I'll probably never ever use them. So I've got a rubber mat on the floor that seems to hold my bins in place, so I probably won't install them on the next build. Great idea, just never use it. And finally, to close out this side of the wall is the plumbing. This is the only area in the van where I have hidden plumbing that's buried in a wall. And when I went to fill up my water tank for the first time, about 3 years after this video was taken, because that's how good I procrastinate, it's the only spot that leaked. So I got really wet in there. And with the van pretty much finished, there was no way to just pull this wall out to get in there, because once you start adding on things, it kind of gets permanent. So thankfully, as you're going to see, excuse me, shortly, I cut into that wall so I can put in I could hide my extension. I could hide my extension cord in there. I'm trying to record all of this without coughing, and I'm on my about 6th time explaining the same thing over again, so I'm sorry, you're just going to have to deal with my coughs. Anyway, hatch cut out. I can hide the extension cord in there. It just gives me a bit more room, and I might as well use up that dead space. It ended up being a godsend, because that was right around the time when I filled up the water tank, found the leak, and it was the only way I could get in there to make that repair. So I think I'll talk about that a little bit more when I get into the plumbing section. In order to make this door from my extension cord, I forgot that this was here, so that takes away a lot of my space that I was hoping to use. So it might be a bit tough getting it in there now, but it's already been cut, so I have to use it. At any rate, in order to screw these in, as you can see, what I've done is I've screwed the first hole with the small one, like I've done here. I put it in a place, and then I screw into the plywood, so that when I put the actual screw in, it doesn't bulge out and wreck the plywood itself. Then I take a second drill bit and I drill these two holes out big enough to fit the screw shaft inside of it. And then I'd take a third drill bit and I drilled 3/4 of the way through there to try and get the head of the screw roughly flush. And that's kind of how it looks when it's done. It's not perfect, but it's all right. This is how it looks when I'm ready to screw it in. Got the frame all finished. The corners aren't the best. I used a bandsaw to cut the 45, so they're not perfect. So it's the best I could do with what I had. For the door itself, I used epoxy to glue the plastic or the aluminum to the wood, so there's no screws holding any of it together. So that sat in my garage for probably a few months before I got around to finding some hinges. Threw some hinges on there so now it opens and closes. The extension cord, I bought a 12 gauge heavy duty one. It's pretty big and it barely fits in there because I forgot about that silvery part there that's got some of that low easy cool on there. It sticks out quite far and I lose a lot of that space. Either way, I found a way to make it fit in there. I still haven't got a handle on that, and that was about 6 months ago when I installed that door, so maybe even longer. So there's nothing really to report on or show you on the finishing of it. Eventually I'll get around to seeing it. It's just a couple hinges and a door knob. And I don't know what I'm going to need to hold it closed yet, so I'll figure that out when the time comes. Probably just a latch. That takes care of that. And backtrack just a little bit. If I go to this next picture here, just to the left of my hand, you can kind of see a silvery thing sitting on top of that. I call it a hard hat. It's a piece of wood covering the top of my wheel well. There's a silvery thing sitting on there. That's an air compressor. That's the main component for my onboard air system, OBA for short. So I'm going to be doing a video on how I installed all of that. It helps me to lift up my airbags, and I've got air throughout the van if I need it for whatever reason. So just above my hand in this picture there to the left a bit, there is some of the connections I made for the air hose going throughout the system. So once again, onboard air will be another video in itself. While we're at it, let's look at another picture. It's part of the garage. On the left side here, you can see an opening for a storage area. It's just more dead space that was in the wall that I didn't want to leave. So I made a small area to put something in there. I have no idea what's going in there. Still to this day, I don't know what I'm putting in there. I've managed to put a door on the front of it. That's about as far as I've gotten, so maybe in next spring, in about 3 or 4 months, I might figure it out. But this is the bare bones of my power plant, my electrical system. This is at least one video on its own. I'll get into greater detail on how all of that works, what all of it is then. So for now, all you need to know is that's where it is. There's my batteries. There's my heater, the first thing I installed in this whole darn thing. And once again, those latches at the top of the black plywood, that's where the aluminum beams go in that support me when I'm laying in bed at night contemplating life's decisions. So now let's move on to the next part. I live in a damp environment on the west coast here. 2 years, and these screws, they're not stainless steel, obviously, are already rusting. Even this guy here is getting rusty. 2 years, granted. The trim right here in the corner isn't giving a full seal. I was getting some mold in here. But I also don't get any heat in here. during the winter time. So I don't know. Maybe that would make it a little bit better. But if you're gonna have a garage in a humid area, use stainless everything. All your screws stainless. Everything stainless. These cargo tie downs are stainless and they're fine, obviously, but everything else really isn't. So that's oops on my part. I've taken out this piece here, measured in. It's roughly 4 inches to the center of that knobby thingy for lowering my tire. So all right, let me backtrack just a little bit on this one. If you were following along on the first video on the floors, which is a really boring topic in all honesty, I don't blame you if you didn't. Here's a picture of how it looked when I was trying to figure out how in the heck to even build a floor. At the very back end of the entrance of the garage, I figured there was going to be a lot of weight and stress on it for me standing on it and putting in anything heavy or taking it out. So I put this 2x6 in there, as you can see, and I cut out the left side so that I can slide my table in and out, right where the drill is. So there's a 2x6 sitting right there, as it sits in the video you're watching right now, and it covers that opening that allows me to gain access to raise and lower my spare tire, which is sitting where it normally does underneath the van. That's the issue that I'm about to address right now. Carry on. I've made a mark here. I'm going to drill a pilot hole, see where the drill bit lands up, and if it's bang on, then I'll get my hole saw out and drill the whole shebang. Hole is drilled pretty close to center. That sits in there. It's down quite a ways, which I don't really like. So then this will just screw in like that. And it sits above, so I've got to cut either the top of that off or the bottom of the of this coupling, whatever connector you want to call it, just to get it flush with the surface so that when boxes are... And then I got to figure out how to get the decking down around here. Yet another fabulous job I did at not thoroughly explaining the process here. I think you get the idea, though. When I have the finished floor in there, I'll just be able to unscrew that cap, and then I can gain access in there to raise or lower my spare tire. So that's how I got around being able to cover up to the very back of the van. The corners of the back end, though, they curve inward. So finishing the corner and the edge on that, as you're going to see, was a bit of a challenge, and I'll show you what I did there. Now, the only downfall to the system that I have here is that if you look at your van, if you've got a Transit, the assembly that you or the bolt head, if you will, that you crank to raise and lower your spare tire, it sits in a plate, and that plate's got, I think, 4 screws holding it down to the floor of the van. If the assembly that raises and lowers that breaks, then you have to get at those 4 screws to take that all out and replace it, fix it, repair it, or whatever. If that ever happens to me, I'm kind of screwed. So keep that in mind if you're deciding to try this idea out for yourself. And I was rambling on about how I'm going to finish putting the decking around that. I just really briefly touch on how I do flooring, just to show you that it's in the garage and that I do it. I'll show you what I did in order to try and finish that up and make it look pretty. It's not, to be honest. The final product isn't. I just didn't know what else to do. So hindsight will probably have some great ideas. Anyway, that's what I was trying to say at the end of the video. I've got to find a way to finish that up and clean it up, and it is what it is. Let's move on to the next part. I decided how big to make the platform to raise my water tank up, just using some scrap wood that I had around and some scrap insulation there. This is kind of what I've made. I got the hole set up, measured the center of it. I'm just going to cover it with a layer of plywood, and then it's ready for flooring. This little hole is where I'm running my vent line, and it's also going to double as a drain hole, so which doesn't make sense when you hear it, but it will when I show you the plumbing section. I figured out how to be able to drain the tank and use it as a vent out of the same hole. So that's what that's for, and I'll show you how it all ties in when we get into the plumbing section. I always get great advice. The downside is usually when I get it, it's already too late. Apparently, for these vertical sides, the glue never holds very well, which we've already witnessed, and that I'm better off to use a contact cement. So now I have to wait for all that glue to dry on all these sides, go buy some contact cement, and hopefully putting that on there will make it all work. So lesson learned, I guess. All this was a waste of time too. Boy, aren't I just a ray of sunshine there, hey? It's frustrating when you work your butt off for like half a day just trying to install this little bit of decking. I went with decking because it's more durable, at least I thought it is, or think it is, than regular linoleum, or vinyl, I think as they call it now. I spent like half a day. This was my first ever job doing it, and then I got that advice after all that struggle was finished and it was too late to make any changes. So yeah, it has a little bit better. Anyway, that how I did all that, that's coming up on its own video for the garage flooring. That was a really, really not very fun day. Now next, the outer edge, as you can see in this picture there, looks quite bare and like it sorely needs to be finished. So I glued on some more flooring onto that in strips, and because there's also a table back there, remember, that pulls out. And then I fabricated an aluminum corner trim to go on that and finish it off. I'll just quickly show you how I did a little bit of it, and that once again in itself is going to be its own video because I had to really do some serious MacGyvering for it. So here you go. I've got it pretty much done. It's not quite a tight fit right now, but it's a little pliable like I showed earlier, so I can screw in the first bit, push it in, screw the next bit, and that'll hold it all into place. So this is ready to go after I get that stuff there, on which I absolutely hate, but where I was getting my outside vinyl decking, this was the best option out of everything that was there. So c'est la vie. It'll go in, and then I can finish this guy off. First though, I have to notch out for the table, the workbench. I gotta come up roughly that much, so I gotta figure out how to notch the whole way down to here, or right there, and come back down again and make that look nice all finished. That's gonna be interesting. Oh boy, I've just put together all the video you've seen now, and it's embarrassing. It's horrible. I apologize for the lack of video and insights. I had so much more footage to explain things in better detail, but unfortunately, this is the best that I can do for you. So the next video I should have better footage to explain how I do the bed and the bedroom. So that's all I got for this one, except that two more things. The first is I want to talk about milestones, specifically your first two milestones. If you're living in the van while you build it like I'm doing, I did. The first one is getting your floor into place. Until that happens, and unless you have somewhere to put all your materials, your bedding, your food, your clothing, everything that's in your van, until that happens, and if that doesn't happen, you're putting it outside on the ground, or you're shoving it in the other end of the van while you try and work on it. And that really sucks. And especially if it's raining outside, because now everything's getting wet, unless of course you have a tarp. But then at the end of the day, you're bringing in a soaking wet tarp. It's just not pleasant. So taking apart your bed every morning, putting it back together at the end of the day, hiding it so that it doesn't get sawdust in it, all of that stuff really, really is not pleasant. So getting your floor into place is the first great milestone that you'll celebrate. The second one is getting your bed into place, because that means even less moving stuff around just to move stuff around so that you can work. You can leave your bed where it is, all the bedding that is. You can put clothes in there. If you're doing the same setup as me where you've got a garage underneath, then you can work underneath your bed. So you can put a whole bunch of stuff on your bed. And it's out of your way sometimes for days at a time. You're just moving that little bit to crawl into bed at night. So, and plus there's the satisfaction of finally having your bed into place. It's one of the first real things in your van that you get to use, based on your work. So that was big grins on my face the first few nights that I slept in that bed there. So floors and beds, first two real major milestones. And like I said, the next video is on the bed in the bedroom. Not a lot to talk about there, but it needs to be talked about. So that's coming up next. So I want to close out this video with, I wanted more footage on top of Pocaterra Ridge to share with you guys. So I'll at least show this one little video I did pretending to be a reporter reporting live from the top of Pocaterra Ridge. Hopefully it gets you enough of a laugh that you'll want to come back and watch the next video. Until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Reporting live from Pocaterra Ridge in Kananaskis country. I'm Michael, and I'm here to report on wildlife sightings. While I haven't seen any myself, I've been told that there's marmots in the area, that you have to be careful or they might get you from behind.